Hello, my name's Talia, and I was a conservative evangelical fundamentalist for 30 years until I was finally given grace and peace by our Lord Jesus Christ, was able to come out to myself. Well, I keep failing on my intentions to make one video a day, which was pretty ambitious, I must admit. It's okay though. I'm just gonna keep trying to make at least one video a week, and I'll keep calling this my social transition attempt. I gotta just try to make a new attempt at just trying to recover, I guess, again in ways that I've kind of given up on perhaps for a little bit. Whew, I just got really, really depressed lately, and I've backslidden in a lot of ways in terms of just like basic things like keeping myself fed, getting enough sleep, just the most basic thing. Being able to wear warm enough clothes. We did have a cold spell. I think that was one reason why I got depressed. And well, I mean, that's the whole thing. That's what I'm fighting. That's the main thing holding me back is that I just don't have much motivation and I sit around and don't want to do anything but get high and watch YouTube videos, except when I go protest. I'm all dressed up because I was out protesting today, and my mom's going to pick me up. I'm going to get some groceries and then go to work and work almost till midnight today. But I mean, the good thing is that I did get up early enough. I didn't just get so high that I couldn't even go outside and see the sun. That's what happens sometimes. I have to close all the curtains and turn on the red light and just hide in my room. So I feel like I'm doing a little bit better at moderating. I actually ran out of the bud again, which is good. I feel like it's really powerful and it's too effective and it gets me more addicted nowadays because the main problem with the vaporizing pens is that they're too easy to use, but they're also kind of crappy. Like the effect isn't as good. They're not as interesting or compelling. Um, in theory, that should mean that I use it less often, but because they're so easy to use, I just end up frustratedly trying to get the same effect that I would from the bud just by using more. And of course, it doesn't work. But I'm feeling better now that I've actually worked through some of those compulsions where now I've internalized into my system that I don't really want to do that. That's the key, in my opinion, for actually breaking an addiction is to finally get it into your head that you don't actually want to do the thing that's hurting you, if it actually is hurting you. That's the thing. If it's not really hurting you, even if it's a compulsive behavior, and maybe it's not something you should worry about changing, which is another thing I'm starting to learn, or at least maybe it's not something you can change in the sense of getting rid of that cyclical need to do something about whatever you're doing. Um, and maybe in that case, you just got to find some better way to have an appropriate outlet. Well, anyway, I'm not going to make this one very long. I do have to get ready for work. Oh, the main thing that happened this week is that my bike got stolen, or it's actually a scooter. It has a seat, which has been really helpful. I like being able to sit down and relax instead of having one of those scooters where you have to stand all the time. So it's really frustrating. It's all my fault. I didn't lock it up. I thought it wouldn't get stolen, and I'm like, it's only going to be 10 minutes. I'm just picking up a gallon of milk. And of course, it was gone by the time I got out there. So I'm going to try to use that as an opportunity to upgrade and get a better vehicle. I think maybe I just want to get a pedal, electric assisted bike this time. You can get ones that are even cheaper than the scooter that I had. And then, you get the kind that folds. I won't even have to chain it up. Part of the frustration to me, I guess I just get annoyed with things that are kind of this process. I don't know, and I keep hurting my hands trying to put the chain because I have to loop it through the seat on the scooter because the seat can just be taken off. So I would always lock the scooter seat as well if I actually go through the whole process of locking it up. And that's why eventually it made me all annoyed and lazy. I didn't want to go through that whole process. If you're rich enough to have a car, you just press a button and you have like a mobile storage device that you can keep stuff in and people in theory aren't going to break into or just pick up and leave. So it's kind of a disadvantage to not have a full car, like a real vehicle. And then I get pissed off and I cut corners and This is what happens. So I think it'll be nice getting one of the bikes that folds. The one that I had, the scooter, all it did was the top would fold down, of course, the handlebar tower. But that wasn't really enough for me to like say take it indoors and hide it in a corner at work. If I had the folding bike, I could actually do it. It's more compact. It's more like a little like a suitcase, not little, but I know that I have some coworkers who actually bring their whole foldable bike and just keep it indoors. So that'd be nice. Then I wouldn't even have to worry about locking it up. And then even at the stupid grocery store, that's where I lost it. This grocery store with this super shady parking lot where all the homeless people hang out. Not to be biased against anyone for being in distress, but that's where it disappeared, and I should have known better. That's an area that I would have known uh, would be at risk. Uh, so alas, I do feel like it's a blessing that I'm not as freaked out as I would have otherwise been. I mean, it's a lot of money, so that's the annoying thing. It upsets me that I have to spend more money, and I'm nervous that I'm not going to be able to maintain uh, my income. I'm worried that I'm going to start having to eat into my savings again, and that's not good. I'm trying to avoid that. But it's a good thing lately that I've started to make a little bit more progress. I'm not feeling so depressed. Started taking my pills more regularly again. I think part of it, I had I don't know, I was really wrestling with sort of wondering whether I should stop taking the spironolactone that sort of causes the castration effect. Because, it also dehydrates me and because it makes me pee out all of the testosterone. That's how it works. But ultimately, I guess even though it's kind of annoying, there are disadvantages, and I keep thinking that, oh, if I just turn on my testosterone, I'll have more motivation and lust for life, and like I'll be able to, do physical activity more readily. But I think that's just superstition. That's just stereotyping. I don't think testosterone really does that for everybody. It certainly wasn't doing that for me for, 25, 20, 25 years, however long it was. Oof. And I guess the main thing these days, I don't have to hardly deal with it much. I do just like the fact that I don't make a mess anymore when I uh, when I find release, as it will as you were as it were as you would as one might say. Anyway, I guess that's all. How long is this? Oops. Okay, I'm gonna try to keep them under 10 minutes. And hopefully at some point I'll be able to transition toward making videos that aren't just me yapping at the camera, but have to do with actually sharing the things that I want to share. I do want to at least make some videos about my theory, how I reinterpreted the Bible, even as a fundamentalist that allowed me to come out as trans, just by reinterpreting a couple passages, not like deconstructing all the way, giving up, even denying any of the doctrines I had been denying as a fundamentalist. I still believe them all. What I started doubting was the interpretations that the elders of the church were giving me. And that's a good, solid Protestant thing to do, right? Just taking it a step further, right? Well, our ancestors doubted the Pope and the bishops or whatever, and of course, being in like a Baptist tradition, there's no way anybody can claim to have authority in a Baptist tradition. Like that, they're all just splintering from other traditions and defining their own, version of Christianity, and then they want to claim that's authoritative. It is kind of silly. Although I'm glad I was sort of raised at least. I feel like I wasn't raised to be all doctrinaire and condemn everybody who wasn't the kind of Baptist I was. It's just being a Baptist for me, it was supposed to be just basic Christianity. It's like, oh, we're the ones that don't have a bunch of extra add-ons, BS, like a bunch of creeds and ordinate. I don't know what different things that the Catholics do or whatever. We're always like, oh, they're focusing on works and we just have the purest form of Christianity. But unfortunately, it still turns into this sort of make or break thing where certain fundamentalist, like theological ideas end up, like, if they're wrong, it'll end up ruining the whole system. You just won't be able to truly access the creator if you're not living in the truth. If some of your doctrines are literally like false and you keep butting up against reality, at some point you're going to hurt yourself unless you can admit that the reality is what it is. Like your wonderful doctrinal cathedral, this perfectly formulated system that explains all of these Bible verses. It's cool. I love that stuff. Being autistic, I love that element of being a fundamentalist is all a bunch of like word games and like finding magic spells and in sacred texts and stuff like that. It's very, I don't know. It was reassuring for a long time because basically you just have to have sort of like a Gnostic secret knowledge and be clever enough and like devoted enough, obedient enough to the rules. And supposedly then you win at life. Everything, you're just you're supposed to be in heaven on earth, and then heaven forever, and woe to those who break these important rules. That's the thing. I wasn't too much of a fundamentalist about a lot of stuff. Like I wasn't going around telling other people they couldn't be gay or whatever. Um, of course, I thought they shouldn't be able to say they were. I don't know. I think I was one of those people who thought we needed different words for like marriage, like different like civil marriage versus religious marriage, just so that we you could completely define that the religious people think that marriage is a different thing, is like a holy rite. But I mean, by all rights, if you're the religious person who wants to be that way, you should come up with your own term, like not try to take the term marriage, which is not necessarily completely bound up with religion. We translate the word in other languages that refer, that were pagan or had marriage or wedding ceremonies, irrespective of modern, religions. We can still call those marriage. The concept of marriage is older than probably the concept of religion itself. If you're doing, an evolutionary anthropology perspective on it. Okay, I think I'm about to 10 minutes now. Well, anyway, oop, a little bit over. That's all right. I'm going to keep trying to make at least one video a week. I'm going to try to add some other more interesting stuff. And this is just part of my process of trying to train myself to get used to this so I can try to make more progress on my goal of becoming some sort of webcam sex worker for Jesus. Because I still believe that I'm trying to preach the good news, excuse me, trying to preach the good news of the gospel of Jesus Christ in the way that I believe it's been revealed to me and that I need, that I've been equipped and called to preach it. And I don't even know exactly what message. That's the humbling thing is I have no skills. I have no professional skills these days. Like I was trained as like an Arabic translator and I can't even read Arabic anymore. And I never could even speak it. So, I just keep failing at all these other professional careers that I attempt to to be able to break into because I'm just not smart enough. I got executive function deficits. My therapist tells me, when you're autistic, sometimes you just have to accept that you're literally disabled to some degree. And it's frustrating because you can't just point to something obvious and say, "Oh, I'm, like I have a broken arm or something, or or some sort of, chronic pain or whatever." I mean, even that, even chronic pain, people have to believe you. So annoying when people just won't believe you. And of course, I didn't even believe myself for a long time. Because I just assumed I wasn't trying hard enough, or it's the weakness of the flesh that needed to be overcome through conformity to the nature of Christ. Phew. So, time to start again. Time to try to figure out how to make life more interesting for myself and not just sit around being like bullied by the algorithm into feeling like freaked out and depressed and hiding in my room and thinking everyone's out to get me and then getting all worked up and protesting and like yelling, like shaking my fist at people, giving thumbs downs to all the Teslas. I always give them a Heil, like my heart goes out to you sort of like negative salute. I hope they get what I'm trying to say. Sometimes I shout Nazi car, but the window isn't always rolled down for that. And that is fun. I believe that's one of these reasons why, God has called me. I am motivated to do that every day almost, weather permitting. And I just want to shift that motivation into being able to do it on camera, my protesting, if you will. And then I can actually make it more socially interactive because I'm just not able to talk to people. I'm not just on the side of the street. There are cars going by. sometimes there are pedestrians, but no one wants to talk to the crazy person with headphones singing to themselves and like, making signals at car or whatever. Like, and of course, I got the political and the LGBTQ and the Christian like symbols. So I'm hoping that it makes sense that people know what I'm doing. If I'm really mad, I always just gesture like really angrily at the cross. Even while I'm usually trying to do some fun like, oh, I've really been working on my posture lately because I've still got sort of a hunchback, and I really like being able to do just this sort of basic aerobic squats and sort of like keeping my arms above my head. I still don't have the good body line, if you will. Like I can't do a backwards arch because my back is still too bent. My neck is permanently like, well, hopefully not permanently. It's just habitually bent forward. And I believe I've been making progress. I just got to keep at it. That's why I like wearing these posture correctors, or in this case, this is a fun, it's not really a posture corrector, but it helps me remember. And it looks better than a real posture corrector. Whew. Okay. Well, I think I'm going to post this. Someday I do want to learn how to do editing, so I'm not just rambling and unable to even cut out pauses or mess ups. Or, like if I lose my train of thought, I just gotta finish the video. I can't go back and even cut off like a little bit of the beginning or the end. I don't know how to do it yet. So there's lots of things for me to learn. I have to learn all kinds of things about videography and lighting. I know I'm just not doing things well. I need better equipment. And I just don't want to spend money these days because the economy is so bad, and I'm nervous. I've been surviving on minimum wage, like 25 hours a week, by just not buying hardly anything. Eating at work and just hiding in my room, not going out. And you know, that's a way to live, but I want to figure out if there's some way to be more connected with the real world in a way that's not going to just freak me out and depress me and make me want to run and hide and just be high all the time. I want to be able to engage with other people in a way that's going to help build mutually reinforcing, just like cycle, the opposite of a vicious cycle. I need to actually get input from other people that will help me get closer to the truth, which I believe is actually healing. Like the truth will set you free. The truth is healing. When you have the truth, you actually know how to proceed, like what's possible, what healing is even possible. It might be something you never even imagined, as it was in my case. And I just gotta remind myself that even though I kind of failed at my initial idea of what transition was supposed to be like, like I'm definitely not passing as a woman, and I guess I never will. And I guess I don't care about that. So it's an interesting process, and I just want to figure out how to get more input and actually share in a way that I can listen more instead of me just venting into space. And that's what trying to learn how to be like a webcam sex worker, or at least just someone like who can just spend time with like lonely nerds who just need somebody to vent at or whatever. Like I love that kind of stuff. I'm always venting at the public because I want to get it back to some degree. I mean, I don't like conflict, but I like, just sharing information and discussing things, and especially like important matters. And it gets me all upset sometimes, and especially talking with Christians. One thing I have to wonder, or, I still have to figure out is whether, how am I even going to try to share my version of the gospel? Like, am I only going to try to share it with non-Christians? Maybe that would even make sense. Just people that are sexually liberated, not in a toxic way, people that I could learn from in a healthy, who actually help me develop a healthier sexuality by interacting with them. That might be what I need to focus on now because I need more positive input, input. I'm not necessarily the person who can give all the positive input to somebody who's like a, a horrible, like messed up incel, or just a fundamentalist who's so bought into like the actual hateful parts of the fundamentalism that it's just completely closed their mind. Like I don't know, the people that think that abortion is the exact same thing as murder and nothing will ever change. You know, like you can't talk to them. You just can't have like a rational discussion with them because they'll just equate it with murder. You know, you can't even talk about how like is this a proper comparison? Is this really 100% one-to-one, relationship, or are there nuances here? Like no nuances. And that is the issue with fundamentalism. And that's an issue that I'm still working through. I'm still an absolutist to a very great degree. I get all upset and I think there's one right way, and people who aren't seeing it are like wicked or stupid or something, or they're being oppressed by the devil and misled, and I have to free them from their sufferings. And I know that's silly. So I'm still sort of getting to that point. I think hopefully I'm healthy enough to actually start my project instead of just thinking through it. Because I had to think through it for a long time because I don't think I was really in a healthy place. And if I'd started trying to be like a webcam stripper 2 years ago, I would have gotten taken advantage of and bullied out the wazoo, or in the wazoo, actually. But anyway, I guess that's all I have to say for this one. Kind of, bad week. Lost my scooter. I'm going to have to use my kick scooter to get around for a while. Sometimes that's fun though. It feels really empowered. It really does feel like it's helping with my posture because in order to really launch out, you have to have your whole spine sort of like a spring connected with your leg to really make it, and then it's almost like a rowing machine. You're pushing off with your foot, but you're using your whole body to anyway. I think it's fun that I'm actually feeling more confident with these the scooter and the bike sort of ideas. And I guess I want to try the pedal idea. Then I can go further. Maybe I'll even be able to go to the next town or something. I that would really help me build up my calves if I really took like a bike everywhere and wasn't just using the electric aspect all the time. So yeah, I guess I got a lot of options, and I'm gonna try not to focus on the negative. That I was dumb and I lost an expensive thing, and just think about how I can make life a little bit easier for myself going forward. I think I won't just get the exact same scooter, and then, I won't be dealing with the exact same frustrations that caused me to skip locking it up to begin with. Hopefully, I'll have some other options. I'll be able to figure it out. And, if it doesn't, if it gets stolen again, then I really got to figure something out. But it took a long time for this last one. I had a really long run with it, like 2 or 3 years, something like that. I forget. Because it's amazing to even think. I used to not be able to ride a bike at all, or even just a kick scooter. Those were terrifying for me as a kid. I just never tried. Oops. And of course I went way too long. All right. Well, ah, and I want to do some more videos of yoga and learning how to do dance moves. And I really like my protest outfit. Oh, I better go now. My mom's about to pick me up. All right. Have a good one. God be with y'all. Bye.